The streets of Jerusalem were alive, yet heavy with anticipation. Absalom walked with a measured confidence, as if the city itself had been waiting for him. Every step was deliberate, every glance calculated. Citizens paused in doorways and at market stalls, some whispering, some bowing, some staring in awe. His garments gleamed with gold and rich textures, his long hair flowing behind him like a banner of authority. He smiled, nodded, spoke words of fairness, and promised justice. Everywhere he went, the people followed, some cheering quietly, some hesitant, all feeling the shift of power. Absalom's heart swelled with pride. He was certain the throne now belonged to him. Guards and loyal followers flanked him, walking with precision, eyes scanning for any sign of threat. The city hummed around him, alive with anticipation, yet a subtle tension lingered. Far beyond the gates, David gathered his army in the wilderness. His face was pale, his eyes heavy with sorrow. This was not a battle he wanted, yet it was unavoidable. Soldiers and commanders approached, watching the king closely, sensing the conflict within him. His voice was steady as he addressed them, but each word carried weight beyond strategy. "Prepare yourselves," he said. "We march at dawn. Remember, we fight for our people. But spare the boy if you can." The army moved quietly at first light. Each step was deliberate, careful over rocky ground and twisted roots. The sun rose, casting long shadows across the hills as soldiers adjusted their shields and tightened grips on their spears. Across the terrain, Absalom's forces advanced too, confident and organized, believing that the kingdom was theirs for the taking. The two armies met in the dense forest. The trees were tall, their branches twisting like fingers, blocking sight lines and complicating movement. The ground was uneven, roots snaking across the path, making every step a challenge. The forest seemed alive, conspiring to make the battle chaotic. When battle erupted, the air filled with shouts, the clang of metal, and the sound of boots pounding the earth. Spears collided with shields, men struggled for footing, and arrows whistled past, some finding marks, others embedding in trees. Dust and debris rose around the fighters, turning the forest into a whirlwind of confusion and noise. David's army maintained discipline, moving as one, shields and spears working in rhythm. Absalom's forces fought with passion, but recklessness crept into their ranks. Slowly, David's strategy began to tip the balance, men moving with precision, cutting through the chaos with purpose. Absalom rode forward, weaving between trees and shouting commands, rallying his men with words that rang with ambition and pride. He was determined, believing victory was already his. Then, as he passed beneath the limbs of a great oak, his long hair became tangled in the branches. His mule continued moving, leaving him dangling helplessly, swaying above the forest floor. Time seemed to pause. Absalom struggled, kicking and grasping for freedom. The sounds of battle faded for him, replaced by the rush of wind and his own desperate breathing. Soldiers nearby froze, watching, unsure what to do. One ran to Joab, reporting what had happened. Joab's eyes hardened. "You saw him, and the king said to deal gently?" he asked. Without hesitation, Joab moved forward, his decision swift and resolute. In one decisive act, Absalom's life ended. The rebellion that had shaken the kingdom concluded in a single, tragic moment. The battle slowed, then ended. Trumpets announced victory. David's army had won, but there was no cheer, no celebration. Every soldier understood the weight of what had been lost. David stood as the messenger approached, face stricken, chest heaving. "The battle is over," the man said. But David's attention was fixed elsewhere. His voice caught as he asked the only question that mattered. "Is Absalom safe?" The messenger hesitated. The answer was already clear. David fell to his knees, staggering forward in disbelief and sorrow. "Oh, my son, my son, my son!" His cries echoed across the valley, each repetition carrying grief that no words could lessen. Tears streamed down his face, his hands trembling as they buried his face, and he sobbed openly, unrestrained. He thought of Absalom as a boy, once tender, once innocent. Every memory cut deeper now. The laughter, the joy, the promises, all gone in a heartbeat. David's heart ached with love, loss, and the bitter knowledge that even kings cannot save those they love from the consequences of their choices. The battlefield, the city, the armies, all faded from his mind. Only the loss of Absalom remained. Every shout, every cheer, every sound of victory around him seemed hollow. He could see nothing but the absence of his son. Time passed slowly. David remained on his knees, calling Absalom's name, repeating it over and over, letting the world wait. Around him, soldiers and servants moved quietly, careful not to disturb his grief. Even the wind seemed hushed, as if the earth itself mourned. As the sun set over the battlefield, painting the forest and hills in deep orange and gold, David rose unsteadily, still trembling. He looked toward Jerusalem, the city quiet now, the rebellion ended. Yet in his heart there was only sorrow. The kingdom remained, but the boy he loved had gone forever. Even in victory, David's tears fell. The weight of loss, the ache of love, and the shadow of grief pressed heavily upon him. His cries lingered, echoing over the hills and forest. A king broken not by enemies or war, but by the death of his own son. The day ended. The rebellion was crushed. The throne was David's once again. But nothing could restore what had been lost. Nothing could erase the memory of Absalom, gone too soon, leaving a father behind with only grief to fill the silence.